Well, hi everyone. Welcome back to Heart of the Matter with me, Stephen. Now, it's time for us to have a chat about the one issue that has been buzzing this week, the kerfuffle around SimplyGo. Now, here's the backstory. The LTA announced on the 9th of January that EZ-link and NETS FlashPay cards will no longer be accepted on trains and buses come June. And those who have such cards, well, they simply have to upgrade to SimplyGo. But SimplyGo, it did not. There were many unhappy people at train stations and angry comments left on social media. So today we want to unpack a few things. Why the need to change? How do these different card systems work in the first place? And what lessons can be learned from this latest saga? A quick note to say that we did try to reach out to the Land Transport Authority and the Public Transport Council. We invited them to join us, but they declined to send a spokesperson. Okay, gentlemen, thanks for joining me. A lot of confusion online about, the different card systems. So you have NETS, EZ-link, and also credit cards. Sumit, if you can give us a quick sort of 101 about the difference between a stored value card and an EZ-link card and a credit card as well, which we all use for our bus and trains these days.
So the broad difference between cards, you can put them as credit cards or debit cards. Debit cards are essentially like wallet cards you can think about, where a traditional debit card will be that the money will be deducted from your bank account, but it's in your bank account. An EZ-link card is a wallet where you're putting your money in somebody else's bank account, and it's going to be deducted from there. Now, that's the difference between the two debit card kind of transactions. Whereas a credit card is you are going to be purchasing things on credit from Visa or MasterCard, essentially, and paying it off in a month or so. So obviously, credit is better because you're getting a free float of anything you purchase or spend on for a month, as long as you pay it back after a month and don't incur interest payment debt.
And we've been told that, senior citizens, students, NSF, who all have concession cards, actually they will not need to change their cards, which means essentially the current card infrastructure will stay. So it sounds to me like, wait a minute, if these guys can still use their cards, why can't the other people still use their cards?
Stephen, I want to circle back a bit just briefly to the difference between the systems, because I think it's important for actually addressing this question, right? So, I think the key difference between SimplyGo and between the legacy payment systems really is this. It's about the wallet issue. Where is the wallet? And for the legacy system, your old EZ-link and so on cards, the wallet is on the card itself. And what that means is the only record of how much money is in there, what's the account, the balance, everything, it's on the card. And every time you use the public transport system, it is that card which is actually electronically updated by the system. That's why you can see the balance. That's why you can see how much you paid instantly. And SimplyGo does not work on that basis. SimplyGo uses what looks like the same infrastructure, but SimplyGo it just checks for whether you have a valid payment account or not. And later, that account is reconciled and the billing is done in the back end. So that's the big difference. So
in that sense, you're saying it works more like a credit card.
Yeah, so SimplyGo works more like a credit card, no matter whether you're using a debit card, your Apple Pay, whatever it is. All that needs to be known to the system is, does this user have some kind of valid payment account? That's all that needs to be known. But with the old system, you needed to know how much balance is in the card, bill it, everything like that. All that was done on the card. Yeah.
I mean, the old system was almost like cash exchanging hands. It was literally somebody giving money to somebody else. Whereas with this other system now, it's like a credit card. I pay first, but you just have to validate that this guy's legit, he's got money somewhere, and I'm going to get paid later on somehow.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So that doesn't work for everyone. We got to accept that not everyone will have a credit card, and people like to be in control of where their money is and how much they're spending, right? So that's a large amount of the unhappiness. So Sumit, I see you smiling. I mean, because when you tap, you're like, oh, I have 50 cents left. You have to top up. But if I tap and I don't know, then...
Yes. So I think let me kind of extend Walter's argument a little bit. What is happening is when the money is in the card itself, sometimes if you lose the card, then you may just lose the money. It's like losing cash.
Yeah.
Whereas in the new system, you cannot lose your money. because it's a credit and you can always have it. That's why you can't check on it instantaneously how much money you have left on the card. But that creates the unhappiness because you can't check instantaneously, do I have $100 left or $50 left, or how much did this ride actually cost me? Because that will create unnecessary transactions and waste time. So they're improvising, but they're losing some information in that process. You're making it more efficient, but losing information.
And we know every second counts when you have, commuter traffic at peak hours. But Walter, why has this got people so upset? This fact that they can't see how much money is left on their card.
I think what we didn't anticipate, I certainly didn't expect this, is just how important this concept of using a cash card with a balance in it is for, I think, two important groups. So one group is going to be those people who rely on keeping a certain balance in their cash cards for budgeting purposes. They maybe have very limited income, they don't want to overspend too much on public transport, so they use the balance to control their spending. So that's one group. Now, the other group, which I think is also out there, are people who just don't trust the way the system works for various reasons. Maybe they felt they were overcharged before in the past. Maybe they think that if they take the bus versus the MRT for a certain journey, they're going to pay more, for one mode than the other. And for this group, it's a bit of a legacy issue. Why do I say that? Because historically, our fare system was much less harmonized. There were, in fact, differences in price for different kinds of journeys in the past. But today, we've unified the fare system. The idea behind that was to eliminate all of these small price differences so that you just take the public transport route that makes the most sense for you. Now, coming back to why did we not expect this, let's think about this from the point of view of a planner, an expert, somebody in government. Well, most of us are not lower income Singaporeans, so this idea of having to budget very carefully wouldn't have occurred. And of course, the other thing is, we trust the system we've built, right? So we know what the pricing is based on. So it also wouldn't occur to us that a lot of Singaporeans may have some doubts here and there about whether things are really working well in the system or not, whether they're correct or not. So I think it's kind of being blindsided here.
It's true. Once you've been so-called cheated in that sense, one time you'll be, once bitten, twice shy, and you want to keep track. Because we all know also with credit cards, sometimes there's fraud, there are things happening. So, and we're all careful about our money. Okay. So then comes the question of how this is being implemented. I guess a lot of the debate is saying that maybe the way this was announced, was it a question of the way it was communicated? Because SimplyGo's been around, it's not entirely new. It exists, but now suddenly to tell people, okay, bam, we've got a hard stop. Those cards are going to stop working. I mean, is it the way it was communicated? Is that the problem, Sumit?
Maybe, but I think what happens is we all procrastinate in our life. You can tell this 2 years in advance, we will not take action till the day when it is supposed to be. And then we panic and then we do it and then we complain about it. That's just human nature. And we all do it in some way or the other. And I think this is exactly what is happening, that consumers are being a little bit unfair because they feel like, oh, I was not warned enough. I bet you if they gave them 2 years, that this would be the same outcome.
Okay, so what's going to happen is we'll be upset now, and come June when there really is the hard stop, there's probably going to be a bit of unhappiness again then, right?
Well, Stephen, let me tell you why I think I was at least blindsided by this. When SimplyGo first came into being, I was really happy. Why was I happy? Because I could finally get rid of my cash card. I've got this cash card. I have to put money in it now and then for public transport. I'll admit that I drive a lot of the time. So, I only use public transport when it's inconvenient to drive. Now, for somebody like myself, SimplyGo is great, because I could get rid of the cash card. I just use my bank card. It works wonderfully. And of course, if you're a tourist, you would have thought the system is great. You step off the plane, use your card. You don't need to figure out how to buy a ticket. Now, the problem here is that for people like me, we assume it works great for me, but it doesn't work great for all Singaporeans necessarily. The mistake here is to assume it works great for me, it must work great for you as well. And I think that's the mistake here.
But one could argue that this would be a fairly small minority, that most people will be like you and me, who are quite happy the way it works. That I mean, to be fair, one could argue that it's only a small group, and once we help them come to terms with it, it'll be all right.
I mean, there's another angle to it. Look, right now, I actually look at my credit card statement every now and then, and I have maybe 7 to 8 items. Now imagine that every time you're taking a train, that will be a separate line item for 50 cents or $1. those credit card statements, while electronic, they will run into pages. And this is potentially a way that fraud could happen here. Somebody could say, look, I'm not going to be monitoring my statements as carefully anymore. So if anytime I can create fraud of $1 for this person every month, now I can aggregate this up and make a lot of money. And individually, I will never be able to catch that kind of frauds.
Right. So there are challenges with going this route as well. They've said June is a hard stop, but yet they've said those who have concession cards, like senior citizens, those in national service, students, they can carry on using their cards. But people are asking, isn't it the same infrastructure? Don't they use the same platform? So why can this group carry on while the others have to stop?
Yeah, so I think we are actually seeing a system that is in transition right now as far as the concession card groups are concerned. I think the plan should be, in fact, to move the concession card groups as soon as possible to a SimplyGo based platform. But to do that, you need to shift how you authenticate, how you verify whether somebody is entitled to a concession or not. So the reason why we have the current concession card system is that card has the photo of the user on it, so you can make sure somebody's not cheating the system. But in the future, having that card simply linked to a payment-based account would be the logical thing to do, right? Maybe you can still have the physical card, but instead of having a cash wallet on it, it just links to that person's bank account or, maybe public transport voucher account or whatever it is. And I think this is the way the technology is going to go. It's going to allow you to do this, and that would be a better solution, I think, for everybody.
The other reason is that not necessarily all students would have bank accounts or have access to banking, and also the elderly. They may not have not just bank accounts, but also credit cards. So for them to use the new system may be slightly more difficult or cumbersome. Whereas the old system, you buy this card, you put in the money, you're good to go.
But I'm going to say here that the technology does allow us to create special accounts for these guys, maybe taxpayer-funded accounts, right? Concession accounts, voucher accounts, whatever, and then they pay from them. So it's all about how do you make it, I think, easier for people using the technology we have, because it allows for those possibilities.
So the technology is there. It does allow for it. So then again, the question is, why not wait till everyone is ready to move over and then move? Why? The system isn't broke. It still works. So why force some to move when others don't have to move? Why not wait for everyone to do it all together?
So I think this is an area where I think there could have been some more explanation, perhaps forthcoming from the authorities on why the move has to be done now, and more importantly, what are the real consequences of not doing a move at some time. And I think here the most important thing that would have to be discussed is the cost issue, right? How much does it cost to actually maintain different kinds of payment systems in place at the same time? I want to draw a comparison here to how we do payments in our regular commerce. If you go to your supermarket convenience store, you will see that they accept dozens of different kinds of payment systems. So it's very logical to ask, why can't my bus or MRT also accept dozens of kinds of systems, right? But the real problem is this: who is paying for the payment system? If you dig a bit deeper, you're going to find that when you buy stuff at the supermarket or whatever, there's actually a very complex system of financial providers who pay for all of that infrastructure. They pay for it through charging commissions essentially on every dollar that passes through, right? But when it comes to your public transport system, who is paying? It is actually the taxpayer who is paying. And that's something we don't appreciate. And that means that every time we want to accept more different kinds of payment systems, then the taxpayer has to absorb more costs. And that's the basic difference between our public transport and our supermarket in terms of why one of them offers lots of payments and the other one doesn't so much.
So another reason there could be that, you always want to create new technology and you want early adopters. And you don't want to create inconvenience to people who may be most troubled by this adoption. So who will be troubled by the young and the old. So you say, okay, let them continue. Let's bring in this technology. If we have kinks in it, we'll iron them out, let the common person see, and we'll fix it and let the others adopt later on.
But then some would argue again that technology changes so quickly. We do this now. For all you know, 1 year later, they're saying, oh, we've got a new system, let's switch to that. And we don't even need to transit the other people to SimplyGo. Should we be expecting this kind of change all the time?
No. I don't think we should expect too many surprises in the future. And I think, I think that is because the idea behind the SimplyGo platform is to be a fairly open platform where different kinds of payment systems, as long as they can be authenticated, can actually ride on that. And that's why we've seen that SimplyGo has been extendable, to different kinds of bank card payment systems. It's been extendable to foreign bank cards as well. It's been extended to your various kinds of, e-wallet or rather, mobile payment kinds of systems. And you see, this is one of the basic differences, I think, between SimplyGo and the legacy system. Because the legacy system has to be a lot more technologically constrained because the money is on the card and you have to be sure to guard against fraud, erroneous debits, credits, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I think it's more future-proof. That's the point.
Right.
SimplyGo.
So I was going to ask you that. Is it fair to say that SimplyGo is a superior technology and will withstand the test of time much more than current platforms?
Well, if I made such a prediction, I know that in a couple of years' time, I'm going to be proven wrong and we're going to change everything. So I'll just say that I think by design, it's meant to be more future-proof and leave it at that.
When we say future-proof nowadays, if it works for 5 years, I think that's a pretty good thing already, with the pace of technology. Okay, so is it a question then of also just how things were rolled out? Because actually, if we really knew this, they could have said, well, we will stop issuing, EZ-link cards. We will stop selling them. And after a while, it would naturally be phased out. So was that not another route that could have been taken?
I think a fair criticism is that the assumption was that people would find it incredibly easy to transfer what they're doing to a SimplyGo based platform, and they would also understand automatically without really being told why the SimplyGo platform would be better for their lives. And perhaps the issue here is that it was not obvious to many people how to transition, and it was also, crucially, not obvious to many people that SimplyGo is better. A lot of people are convinced that SimplyGo is worse because of these issues about not being able to see a balance and so on. And so clearly here, there is a bit of a gap in commuter engagement, right? There could be more communication, more explanation, more understanding of why the system is potentially better for you, and possibly even maybe some possibility that things could have been perhaps delayed a little bit until there was more assurance that things would be better for this group of commuters.
Yeah. Because right now they're calling it Simply Go Away, so that's one of the memes going online.
No, so I think it's a classic case of anytime you bring in new technology, there is a status quo bias that I like what I like, and I'm so used to dealing with that. Now, we all were so used to looking at how much balance I have. That was kind of a feature in a way that people thought after I pay down, I know exactly $2 were deducted. Oh, okay, this ride cost me $2 or $1.90 or whatever. And now I don't know. So that gets uncertainty in my mind. How much did I really pay for the ride? Am I paying too much? Because I don't know. I will only know a month later when I look at my statement or something. So that uncertainty creates frustration and say, why can't they just tell me? And as Walter explained, the technology is better, but when the technology is better, they can't input that information for you instantaneously because that will slow down technology.
Yeah, so we had to give up something in order to gain something else. But that whole mindset of knowing how much I've spent, I remember one of the banks some time ago said they had created this platform where you could just tap on it and check your balance without having to really log in. And they're saying people were checking it all the time because, there was that sense of wanting to know how much money you had in your bank and to feel reassured. Okay, so we've got this big question. It's come, it's happened, it's not going to go away. Is it fair to say that in time we'll probably forget about it, we'll get used to it? Maybe come June we'll be a bit upset again, but by the end of the year, this would be a moot point. No one will be talking about it. Do you think so?
I think so. I think this is going to be here to stay, and people will be cribbing a little bit, but this is an improvement. And people will learn quickly that, look, there are other ways to know this information that I'm missing out instantaneously. I can keep track of it on my phone. I can go back to my bank account and check it, and we'll just get over it in due course.
And just to end off, there is a question of technology changing, and we know that, with motorists, the ERP system is going to change as well. There is a satellite system that's coming in. It's being tested right now on, commercial vehicles. So one is asking, are we going to have to expect another huge change in all of that too? Because There are definitely going to be some kinks in the process as it rolls out. People are going to be upset. Will there be new apps, perhaps new cards? I mean, should we just expect that change is here to stay and we'll have to deal with it whenever it pops up?
I think the key lesson I would learn from this SimplyGo episode is that we can't assume as an expert policymaker or, administrator, we cannot assume that what we understand and know about the system is the same as what the member of the public understands and knows. Because I think to those working with the ERP2 system, who've been planning it and so on, everything about the system is obvious and known to them. They already know that when the system is implemented, it's going to replicate the existing ERP system, at least at the first stage. It's going to charge people exactly the same way. It's going to treat people the same way. They know all this because they designed it. But the public doesn't understand this. And I think the lesson to take is a lot more user engagement and understanding and hand-holding perhaps is necessary to assure the public that they're not going to be disadvantaged by the new system. And I think this will be okay for ERP 2.0 at the moment, but I think in the future, we're going to need to do even more public education and engagement to prepare people for future uses of ERP2, which may include, as I think many transport experts have suggested, perhaps looking at it for distance-based charging as a replacement for other kinds of vehicle taxes. But, that's a long way in the future. The immediate step is convince people that ERP 2.0 will not disadvantage you, compared to the current system.
I think that's a good point. Anytime you are taking money from me, I think people really want to know, where's my money going? What am I paying for? It's just human nature. Sumit, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, look, I'm so used to every month, I will check my statements, whereas nothing really changes in your life every month to month. So why am I checking? It's just curiosity. And humans are curious. And why do we need to check every time we go into the bus how much money was deducted?
Okay. And I think it's going to be very hard to reshape human behavior, because we're all programmed that way. But gentlemen, thanks so much for sharing your thoughts on this. I think when ERP 2.0 rolls out, I will need to have another big discussion on that too, because I'm sure there'll be many, many other questions. So tens of thousands of people use our local transport system each and every day, and even a 1 to 2 second delay can make a big difference in the greater scheme of things. But to simply go, I guess that was what LTA wanted. Instead, people simply go away, simply slow, and simply no go is all the memes that have been popping up. Clearly, there's no easy way to tackle this issue. If things stay on track, that would be good, but they could be derailed. Okay, I'll stop with all the transport puns. Thanks for listening to us and, of course, watching us on YouTube as well. This is Heart of the Matter, and a big thanks to my podcast team, Tiffany Ang, Joanne Chan, Saya Win, and Crispina Robert. I'm Stephen Chia. I'll see you real soon. Bye for now.